Hello, everyone. So I understand that the main session has paused, and we can now start this particular breakout group. Salamawit from the Secretariat, maybe you would like to just give a quick update of where we are and how long also we do have, because we were supposed to break in almost 20 minutes. So maybe you can just give an update on how we're going to run and when we will have to pause. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Yamid. We have 40 minutes. Just to let you know that anyone that would like to intervene, they would have to raise their hand.
Thank you, Salamawit. So we do have 40 minutes. Okay. So first of all, my name is Yamide from the World Resource Institute. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thanks for taking the time. The session that I am facilitating is on the promotion and improvement of the coherence, coordination of capacity building action at the national and international level to enhance support for implementing the enhanced transparency framework. So keywords here: coherence, coordination, national and international. The BRI has been doing some work. We do have a paper on how to enhance transparency, capacity building for an enhanced transparency system framework, and it's on our website. And we had thought a number of ideas that we were glad to hear actually in the previous session. So I do not want to repeat, but we heard about the importance from the panelists, the importance of strengthened governance and institutional structures, clear roles and responsibility, coordination mechanism, the participatory approach, and the need to work with sustainable institutions like the academics, and how to bring even the curriculum, statistical structures. There's also for some the importance of having the legal architecture to sustain regular tracking of countries' efforts. And we also heard, the link with other development planning agenda and the SDGs, so that we harness the co-benefits, reduce the duplication of efforts. And then we heard a number of also tracking tools and platforms, available from a number of initiatives on transparency, but on capacity building more broadly. And we heard about the NDC partnership plan was mentioned, because this is a kind of one-stop shop kind of database that countries are producing to track their progress toward the implementation of their NDCs, which include also transparency and highlight all the capacity building needs, and with some performance indicators to see how we progress over over a five-year period. And it also enabled to map out how different initiatives, different partners are supporting such efforts, so that there's a better coordination. And yes, the importance of a lasting, long-term knowledge system. When it comes to the coordination at international level, it seems that the CGE and within the UNFCCC, the CGE and CBIT and PCCB are, the main key, bodies that support this, with the CGE having a special added value in designing a number of reporting tools, softwares, putting in place a number of training materials, training courses. There's also CBIT that for the funding of all the enhancements of those transparency national infrastructures, and the PCCB is broader, and it provides that link with the other elements of the other requirements that countries have to deal with. Of course, there's a number of initiatives again outside. So the question, for you in this forum is, we heard all of that. I was trying just to capture what we heard. What is missing? What can we do better? So both nationally, internationally, to transition more effectively to the international transparency framework. So yes, I would like to open the floor and to hear your feedback. Kirstine from GIZ, I see your hand first, and then I also have Abel. Kirstine, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, I want to raise 2 points. One point is, I mean, all the different service providers we have outside there, they should be in a continuous communication. And I think it was already mentioned, but I want to insist again that it would be good that all the service providers coordinate within the MRB group of friends, and also coordinate when they start support in a specific country or region, and also to join forces. So what we are doing, for example, in PATBA is that we do workshops together with the FAO through their CBIT program, with UNDP and UNFCCC, with other donor countries like France, Switzerland, and so on and so forth. And I think when we join forces, and not each and everyone goes to a country just to tick the boxes from their project proposals, but to see together how the country could benefit best from our joint expertise, or from our finances, and provide platforms for this for promoting this South-South learning. That would be best. And the second point that I wanted to make is, from our experience, I think it's good for the national level if there are really specific focal points for the different initiatives, so that the country really gets an overview of the millions of support initiatives that are out there. And I just have the example, for example, from Thailand, where we have the same focal point for the CBIT, the same for the ICAD, and the same for the PATBA, which is great, because that person really has the overview who is doing what, and that the different initiatives can build on each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you could see, my son came, so that's the joy of doing things at home. I'm sorry for that. But yes, thanks, Kirstine, for bringing all of this. I think you mentioned the need for platforms and to highlight and to do better at communicating what's going on, and highlighting the type of services available. Maybe others can also come back on this particular point. The PCCB has also launched a kind of network, a capacity building network. I think the PCCB is also working on strengthening the interface. So, would it be a good way to address, some of your points? I just want it to be maybe a little bit, to provoke a little bit more reaction based on the tools that we do have. So there's definitely a need, because there's a lot going in there, to highlight the different platforms and the services at regional, international, and maybe national level. And then when it comes to the specific focal points, indeed, you could have a focal point for MRV, a focal point for capacity building, for gender, for indigenous people, so any reaction on how to the benefits of having a focal point that bring all those different dimensions of building capacity and build on the participatory approach, and creating the synergies so that we avoid duplication. And Stanford, Abel, you were next on my list. And please keep raising your hand. And thank you, Christine.
Thank you. My name is Stanford. I'm actually I'm on this platform from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm with UNEP, a global support program. And I think I just want to reiterate a couple of things that Kristen has mentioned, and the fact that I've worked with Kristen on a number of capacity building initiatives. So what I might say might also resonate with what she has just said. The first thing that I really need to emphasize in moving towards ATF and making sure that is implemented in a very efficient and capable way is to be focused. To be focused in terms of what are the themes that we want to train countries on, and also to be very targeted. And the focusing and targeting has two components. You first focus, you have to be focused on issues of training, as well as on the people that you have to train. And of course, there is an issue of coordination, which Kristen mentioned. Yeah, this is something that we mentioned, but I'm not sure if we have come up with the right formula in terms of how we can actually coordinate among different players that offer capacity building services. Yes, we do have the MRV group of friends, but that's a very voluntary. I really don't have, the way it has been framed is that I don't have to be a member of the MRV group of friends. So the result is that a lot of entities that provide capacity building will go to the countries, sometimes with issues that are not even relevant to the countries or to the regions, as long as, like Kristen said, they actually tick somewhere to say, yes, so we use those funds to provide capacity building. And at country level, the coordination is really, really, really important. Things are pretty ad hoc. People receive invitations, and sometimes you don't even know who is going to what training. And this is sometimes result in training the wrong people. I've conducted greenhouse gas inventory workshops, and you get people that have never even heard of greenhouse gas inventory, or they don't have any idea how to put up an inventory. But these are the people that are coming to train on probably higher tiers of how to prepare greenhouse gas inventory. So that's another problem. And sometimes it's because there is no proper coordination in the country. Everybody will just receive invitations to go for training, and people see it as an opportunity to go and visit, countries or to go shopping. And then there is an issue of capacity building for individuals rather than institutions. Most of the time, yes, we do provide capacity building, but then, of course, if you are always targeting individuals, whether they are working for government, whether they're involved in the whole national reporting process, you don't really give much thought to that, then it's not really going to work. I think at the same time, when we are providing capacity building, I think at country level, the institutional arrangement has to be there so that the capacity building is more directed towards institutions rather than individuals. Because I might even provide to the proper individual, he is probably a consultant or she is a consultant, that's not even going to be involved in the national reporting process. But if there is an institution that is responsible, say, for preparing greenhouse gas inventories in the country, then you are targeting the right people, and you are providing capacity building to an institution rather than to individuals that you are not even sure that they are going to contribute anything to the national reporting process. I think I've covered most of the points that I wanted to mention. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Stanford. Before I comment on your point, I think the Secretariat wanted me to remind everyone on the call that you can also send your comment via menti.com. So you will see in the chat the number. So just, if you feel more comfortable to do so, please use also that tool. And Stanford, thank you for highlighting, a number of, reality and strengthening also the point made by Christine. So, one of the things that, came to me is, the issue of training, training of people, but making sure that we have the right people. And for that, we need to have the right coordination in place. And another dimension is the importance of not looking at capacity building of individuals, but of institutions. Now, there could be different suggestions, on how to do a better capacity building of institutions, if others want to come back on that. But yes, this is a very important point. And the MRV group of friends is a very important platform set up by the Secretariat to help coordinating those efforts on capacity that brings different donors, different implementing agencies, different institutions. But it's yes, it's on a voluntary basis. Again, there's other network platforms, so it would be good also to have other reaction if this is not sufficient. So yes, I see that Renilde, I see I see your video. Good to see you. Maybe you would like to intervene.
Thank you. My name is Renilde Ndayishimiye from Burundi. I am a PCCB member.
Yes. Do you want to make an intervention?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to comment on those points? Do you think that we have everything covered?
If there is nobody, then I would like to add just one little thing that might be important.
Yeah, go ahead.
Given that we have time. Okay, there is another thing that always comes up. Incidentally, I'm also a member of the CGE. And usually what we do in the CGE is that before we come up with themes of training in a particular area, we have to conduct a survey that actually will get countries to tell us what are the capacity needs. And in terms of coordination, this international coordination of capacity building, I think that's also important. It's very important that we implement capacity building that is country or region driven, rather than an entity just deciding that I think East Africa needs capacity building on maybe adaptation, assessment. Or maybe West Africa needs capacity building, and then you go there. These people are not even interested in the topics that you want to train them on. So I think there has to be a way, whether by coordinating with CGE in order to know what are the country needs in terms of training, what are the regional needs, so that the right topics. This has to do with also being focused and targeted in terms of the topics of capacity building, rather than just coming up with our own topics and thinking that this is what the countries need.
Thank you, Stanford. And I think the CGE is starting to do that. They in their presentation earlier today, they highlighted a number of areas based on a survey they had performed, that those areas of capacity building that requires the most support. So I think it confirms your point. And I see that Yana, well, no, I would like to hear from you, and then I will come back on some other points. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Yamide. I only wanted to add that in terms of ensuring and enhancing coherence and coordination, the PCCB just launched the PCCB network, which already counts more than 150 organizations and participants, and will have the first meeting at the end, in the end of June, after the fourth meeting of the PCCB, and this is meant to be the place where to share information and, as said, enhance coherence and coordination. There are already lots of platforms, also very effective and useful in providing capacity building, like also, for example, the CBIT Global Coordination Platform, which is a very effective tool to provide capacity building for transparency, and we really hope the network will enhance even more this the knowledge of this platform, and there will be also a newsletter to keep everyone updated and informed. So I just only wanted to mention the PCCB network.
Thank you very much, Yana. I had mentioned it before, at the very beginning. So I'm glad that you highlighted, but very quickly, what it is about. And so it brings, free kind of a platform aiming to coordinate a little bit better. The Friends of MRV, the MRV group of friends, led by the Secretariat. You do have but it's very much specific to the Enhanced Transparency Framework. You do have the PCCB, which is a broader set of MRV, different dimensions of capacity building, not just MRV. So if you want to create synergies with other dimensions, and again, when it comes to the funding itself and the different type of support, you do have also the capacity building transparency initiative from the JEF CBIT, which has this coordination mechanism. So you have three kind of go-to place apparently. It would be good to have reactions also from other countries on this call to see, how useful is it going to be for them if they would like to see other things. And then, again, based on what Christine and Stanford has said before, the need to have it country-driven and to have a better sense of how we're making progress. It strikes me that in less than 3 years, we will have the global stocktake and having a good sense of where we are on capacity building, where we need to be and how we get there is going to be quite important. And those, whether it's the CGE, the PCCB, they will have an important role to play to try to fully assess, where we are. But having a good sense from countries, of where they want to be, and therefore what's still the gap to get to where they want to be, and why they are not where they want to be is going to be important. So maybe there's a couple more reflection also on this to see how we can do better. And Renilde, you wanted to intervene now?
Yeah, I would like to intervene on this item, promoting and improving coherence and coordination of capacity building action at national and international level to enhance transparency and framework. My intervention is about, first of all, is about the identification of the gaps and the need in terms of space and time. When we identify the gaps, the time between the implementation, the needs, in terms of space and time. And second thing is about the criteria of identification of the gap and the need. And both, each country have his national circumstance, and at national level, a coordination unit is necessary, and something like portal also, a platform or a forum, a space of coordinating, and the other things is a space of sharing information, because if information is not shared, it brings duplication. And I think for this coordination and the coherence at national and international, some countries have lack of human and resources, and those bring lack of information to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Renilde. So you would like to get, so you highlight the importance of setting up the criteria to assess progress, right? And that would be very pending the national circumstances, and having also the right platforms to capture, those would be also useful. Is that correct? Those, the question on criteria, I just wanted to know if I captured these. And also you highlight that the time, it requires time, to do this. But can you repeat, because I could not hear everything?
Yeah. The identification of gaps and the needs, the time to identification and the time for implementation can be delayed. And so when you start to implement capacity building activities, there are new emerging capacity needs. So I say that the space and time of identification, the gaps and needs have been short to the implementation. And those the problems sometimes is the lack of human and the resources to implement it.
Yes, thank you.
And there also a coordination unit at national level, and there are some needed, very important, like coordination unit and the portal. A portal, if you do something as activity, you put on the portal, and the others will see this activity has already implemented, but because of not sharing information, no space, regular space, it brings duplication. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for clarifying. So I like that notion of timing. By the time you identify, the time you implement, you generate, that delay. You're already generating new gaps. So from what you said, it seems that it's a continuous process. This is, you highlight that dimension of capacity building as being a continuous process, because as you move forward and as you enhance, your process, you can also identify new needs and new ways that could be better, to address those gaps. So it's it's a kind of continuous improvement cycle, and the BTR, the reporting process, can help you also to do this. And then you highlight the importance of the portal to help coordinating and not miss, those elements that have been already implemented. The partnership, the NDC partnership, when it helps countries to do the NDC partnership plan, which has those database, try to put it also online. It gives, that way, if you have identified the different institutions, to collect, to manage, to analyze any of the data that you need, and also any partners supporting you to make this happen, they can have access, to that database, and therefore they can also update. A few countries like Colombia have done that also to track the support, on transparency. So there are experience, for some countries to do the type of portal that you have highlighted. And there could be South-South cooperation and peer exchange, to do that. Christine, you wanted to come back, and Alejandra as well, maybe from ELAC, you wanted to also intervene.
Yes, should I come in now or after Kirsten?
So maybe Alejandra, you can chip in, because we heard Kirsten before. Is that okay, Kirsten? Maybe you can come after Alejandra.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. I just wanted to chip in with a couple of things. First of all, I think in the introductory session, we heard some ideas that I think are valuable to our discussion. First of all, there are only a few developing countries that have already produced their VURs. So we have a really huge gap for this process and for the implementation for the ETF, because 100 countries have not developed, produced, elaborated their VURs. So I think the size of the challenge is big, it's huge. to what we need to do for the BTRs for 2024. And when I heard Kirsten saying that we need to have greater coordination amongst cooperation agencies or donor institutions, I think it is necessary to deal with this huge gap and see what is happening there. Because if we want the transparency framework to work in the end, in the future, through a biennial rhythm, we are not going to get there if we only have 50 or so developing countries and the developed countries presenting their information. So that's one thing. Another thing that was said in the morning that I also think it's important is in terms of timing and the work and the accessibility to finance. So for the time being, the JEF is the one is the institution that provides support directly for national communications and BURs, and they do not they are not ready to provide funding for reports to be presented every 2 years. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yamide, I think you're still on mute.
Yes. Can everybody else, sorry, can everybody else turn off their mic because there's a background noise that prevents us to hear Alejandra. Oh, thank you very much. Alejandra, please continue on your second point.
Yeah, so I think there has to be something done in terms of how financing is to be provided to ensure that BTRs are developed timely in 2024, and afterwards every 2 years. That 2-year cycle is simply not working now. So it's also an issue of capacities of accessing financing and disbursement of funds, which I think it's a framework that we have to bear in mind for what we have in upfront. Now, I think because our challenge is really big, we have to make use of all of our platforms and tools on hand. That includes enhancing South-South cooperation. We have seen this, that in ILAC, for example, we have countries from different backgrounds and different levels of development, and some of ILAC countries have indeed presented the BURs, but not everyone. So working internally in our group to try to enhance capacities of our institutions, it's something that may help in the end to get us where we want to be, and there has to be potentially a regional approach to this too, because not all the developing countries have the same problems or circumstances, but when you go to a specific region or sub-region, perhaps it is easier to see that the obstacles or the circumstances are a bit more similar, right? So that would be also useful to deal with in the future. And lastly, in terms of capacity building and the PCCB can do or foster in the next years, well, there is a whole work been pursued by the PCCB in terms of internal coordination of constituted bodies under the convention and outside the convention, what was just mentioned about the PCCB network. But the very work of the inside the convention, it's very important in terms of the PCCB knowing exactly how to deal with capacity needs and gaps of developing countries through the work of the MRB or transparency team in the Secretariat, through the work of the CGE, through providing specific guidance to the SEF or the JEF on how these capacities need to fill in. I think in terms of coordination, we have to understand better and make a better job in saying to the other bodies, hey, these are our needs and this is what has to be done. And we have this very concrete, specific challenge by 2024, where a serious amount of developing countries don't have the necessary needs to move forward and comply with one of the one important feature of the Paris Agreement. So how can we work together to enable this? And I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. And this was really timely. And Kirsten, because we have to reconvene to the plenary in 5 minutes, can you be really succinct? But I think the challenges was worth highlighting. The challenge is the fact that there's at least 100 countries that even have not yet engaged into any sort of reporting system, and the 2-year pace is going to be extremely challenging. And for that, we need to see how to also disperse some support quicker, and to work with the Jeff on how we can do that. The use of regional platform to support South-South cooperation. There was the example of, within ALAC. I know that something is happening with the Caribbean as well, and how important it is to have the PCCB to maximize its ability to really leverage its coordination with institutions within and outside UNFCCC, the bodies, to provide also specific guidance as appropriate, including to them on how to support, capacity building. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so Pascal, do you want to have a very quick word?
Yes, I'm called Mugisha Pasco from Ministry of Water and Environment in Uganda. A very quick one. Let me just, considering the time constraint that we are having, I would just love to clarify very fast in 1 minute a few things. First of all, my colleagues have clarified everything, and most of the things we have covered them. However, we have to be clear that first of all, we have to look at capacity gaps at national and international level. We have to also look at accessibility of information. For example, from the MRV group of friends and the PCCB network, we have to, I think, give the various developing countries the capacity or the opportunity to access this information. When we are making these opportunities, we have to align them to their national development objectives, and also their needs as well, because sometimes we come up with capacity needs that don't match the country's needs. So we have to maybe find a way of making an alignment of those. And we also have to create a sense of ownership. These countries have to own these initiatives. It's not just training people or building capacity, but we have to put a sense of ownership into them. And lastly, to do empowerment, like Stanford talked about it, through them focusing. We have a focus-driven kind of capacity building initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pascal, for highlighting this, and the sense of ownership, beyond the just reporting exercise and training, the empowerment. We totally agree, and the matching, doing better on matching. Thank you, everyone. You can continue to send your comments via Menti. I really appreciate your efforts, and let's come back to the plenary. Thank you.